I didn't mean for you to find out like this, my sister said, her voice barely audible over the pounding music from the dorm party. But yes, I slept with him. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. You did what? I asked, my words sharp, cutting through the noise as if the room itself had gone silent. She wouldn't look at me. Her eyes stayed fixed on the floor, her fingers twisting nervously together. Behind her, fairy lights flickered, laughter echoed, and somewhere down the hall, someone was shouting my boyfriend's name. My boyfriend, like nothing in the world was wrong. I'm sorry, she whispered. It just happened. The word happened made my stomach turn. I had come to the party because my boyfriend, Ryan, insisted. It'll be fun, he'd said. Everyone's coming. My sister was visiting campus that weekend, staying with me in my dorm room, borrowing my clothes, asking endless questions about my college life. I thought she was just curious. I thought she was proud of me. I was wrong. Where is he? I asked. She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. I pushed past her and walked down the hall, my heart slamming against my ribs. Each step felt unreal, like I was watching myself from the outside. I told myself there had to be an explanation, some misunderstanding, some cruel joke. I reached the bedroom door at the end of the hall. It was closed. I opened it. Ryan was inside, sitting on the edge of the bed, pulling on his shoes. He looked up, and the guilt on his face hit harder than any confession could have. Hey, he said weakly. I was going to tell you. When? I asked. After I graduated? After I introduced you to our parents. He stood up. You're overreacting. That was the moment something inside me snapped. You slept with my sister, I said slowly, each word heavy. And you think I'm overreacting? My sister appeared behind me, tears streaming down her face. Please don't yell, she said. People will hear. I laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound. You didn't care who heard when you were in my bed, wearing my clothes, touching my boyfriend. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything, I replied. You didn't just cheat on me. You both erased me. The room felt too small, the air too thick. Memories flooded in. Ryan helping me study for exams, my sister hugging me after my first college breakup, the two of them laughing together at dinner earlier that same evening. All of it felt contaminated now. I trusted you, I said to her. You're my sister. She sobbed openly. I didn't plan it. I swear. I looked at both of them, standing there together, united in their betrayal, and realized the truth was far worse than I'd imagined. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And in that moment, in that cramped college bedroom, I knew my life at college would never be the same again. Please don't tell anyone, my sister said, her voice cracking as I stood at the sink, washing my hands for the third time, even though they were already clean. It will ruin everything. I turned slowly. Everything for who? The sun had barely risen over the campus, pale light spilling through the dorm window like it didn't know what had happened here last night. My room looked the same, my books stacked neatly, my jacket hanging on the chair, but it felt foreign, like I no longer belonged in it. Ryan had left before sunrise.
No goodbye. No apology.
Just a quiet door closing behind him, like he was sneaking out of a mistake instead of a relationship. My sister sat on my bed, wrapped in my blanket. My blanket. You're being dramatic, she said softly, as if that would calm me. It was just one night. One night, I repeated. How many lies did it take to get there? She looked up sharply. I didn't lie. I laughed bitterly. You asked me about him. About us. About when I wasn't around. You borrowed my clothes. You slept in my room. You smiled at me. Her face fell. I didn't plan to fall for him. You didn't fall, I snapped. You stepped over me. Silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. I was lonely, she said finally. You were always busy with classes, friends, him. You changed when you came to college. That hurt more than I expected. So, you punished me for growing up? I asked. By sleeping with my boyfriend? She stood up, defensive. You don't understand how invisible I felt.
I satte her.
I don't understand how you looked at me every day and still did this. She wiped her face. Ryan said you didn't care about him anymore. The words landed like a slap. He said that. She nodded. He said you were always stressed, always studying, that you made him feel unwanted. I closed my eyes. Of course he did. He had rewritten our relationship to justify what he wanted. And she had believed him because it served her. You should have come to me, I said quietly. Not him. She opened her mouth to respond, then stopped. Down the hall, someone laughed. A door slammed. Life continued, indifferent to the wreckage inside my chest. I can't stay here, I said, grabbing my bag. I need space. Her voice rose in panic. You're not going to tell Mom and Dad, right? That question answered everything. You're worried about them, I said. Not about me. That's not fair. It's exactly fair, I replied. You made your choice. Now I get to make mine. I left the dorm and walked across campus without a destination. Students hurried past me, complaining about classes, clutching coffee, living normal lives. No one knew that my sister had slept with my college boyfriend. No one knew that my safe place had been destroyed overnight. My phone buzzed. Ryan.
Can we talk?
I messed up. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. He hadn't messed up. He had decided. I deleted the text. By the time I reached the library steps, my hands were shaking, not from heartbreak alone, but from realization. This betrayal wasn't just about love. It was about boundaries, about respect, about how easily the two people closest to me had chosen themselves over me. As I sat there, watching students walk by, one truth settled painfully clear. College was supposed to be where I found myself. Instead, it was where I learned exactly who I couldn't trust. You look like hell, my roommate said as soon as I walked into our shared dorm room. Did something happen last night? I dropped my bag on the floor and sat on the edge of my bed. For a moment, I considered lying, pretending I was just tired, stressed, overwhelmed like every other college student. But the truth was already pressing against my chest, desperate to escape. My sister slept with Ryan, I said. The words sounded unreal out loud. My roommate froze. Your sister? As in your actual sister? I nodded. She didn't say anything for a full 10 seconds. Then, that's messed up. Like, next level messed up. By noon, people knew. Not because I wanted them to, but because secrets rot when too many people are involved. Ryan skipped class. My sister stopped answering her phone. And whispers followed me everywhere. In the cafeteria, outside the lecture hall, even in the library. That's her, someone murmured as I passed. Isn't that the girl whose sister? No way, that's brutal. I felt exposed, like my pain had turned into entertainment. Ryan finally cornered me outside my economics building. Please, he said, grabbing my arm. Just hear me out. I pulled away. Don't touch me. People stared. I didn't care. It was a mistake, he insisted. I was drunk. She came on to me. I laughed, sharp and loud. So now it's her fault. I didn't say that, he snapped, then softened his tone. I just mean it didn't mean anything. You already said that, I replied. And it still doesn't make it better. He stepped closer. I love you. I looked at him. The same boy I had stayed up late studying with. The one who had promised he'd never hurt me the way my high school ex did. No, I said quietly. You love what you get from me. That's not the same thing. He had no answer. That evening, my sister finally showed up on campus. She stood outside my dorm like a stranger, twisting her hands together nervously. People are talking, she said as soon as she saw me. They're calling me names.
Ich sagte her.
Welcome to consequences. She flinched. I didn't think you'd tell anyone. I didn't, I said. You just forgot that actions echo. Tears streamed down her face. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, I replied. And now you want sympathy because it's uncomfortable. She reached for me. I stepped back.
Don't, I said.
You don't get to cry in my arms after breaking my trust. She looked stunned, like She'd expected forgiveness just because we shared blood. "I'm your sister," she whispered. "And I was your sister too," I said, "before you chose my boyfriend." She left without another word. That night, I lay awake listening to the sounds of the dorm, laughter, music, life going on. My phone buzzed endlessly with messages, some supportive, some curious, some cruel. Ryan sent one last text. "We can fix this." I blocked his number. In the darkness, I finally accepted something I had been avoiding all day. I hadn't just lost a boyfriend. I had lost the illusion that the people closest to me would never be the ones to hurt me the most. And once that illusion was gone, there was no going back. "Why didn't you come to class yesterday?" my professor asked, glancing at me over his glasses. "This isn't like you." "I wasn't well," I said. It wasn't a lie, just not the kind of sickness he could excuse with a doctor's note. College had always been loud to me. Hallways buzzing, classrooms humming, people everywhere. Now it felt loud in a different way. Whispers instead of voices, pauses instead of laughter. I felt it every time I walked into a room, and conversations dipped for half a second too long. I was no longer just a student. I was the story. In the cafeteria, my tray felt heavier than it should have. I scanned the room before sitting, instinctively avoiding places where Ryan's friends gathered. When I finally sat down, two girls at the next table fell silent. One of them looked at me with pity, the other with curiosity. Neither felt good. My sister texted me that afternoon.
"Can we talk? Please."
"I feel like I'm losing everyone." I stared at the screen. "You didn't lose them," I thought. "You gambled them." I didn't reply. That evening, I overheard something I wasn't meant to. "I mean, it's awful," a girl in my dorm said to her friend, not realizing I was behind them. But if her boyfriend cheated that easily, maybe the relationship wasn't that strong. I kept walking, my face burning. That was the worst part. Not the cheating. Not even my sister's betrayal. It was how easily people rewrote my pain into something that made them more comfortable. If it was my fault somehow, then it didn't have to scare them. Back in my room, I finally broke. I cried until my chest hurt, until the tears felt dry and useless. I cried for the sister I thought would always protect me. For the boyfriend who had sworn loyalty like it was sacred. For myself, for not seeing it sooner, for trusting so deeply. A knock came at the door. I wiped my face and opened it.
"Ryan."
"You're not supposed to be here," I said flatly. "I needed to see you," he replied. "Everyone hates me." I stared at him in disbelief. "That's why you came? Because you're uncomfortable?" He looked genuinely confused. "I just want things to go back to normal." "Normal? There's no normal after this," I said. "You don't get to ruin my life and then ask for familiarity." He stepped closer. "She didn't mean anything. You do." I laughed, bitter and tired. "If that were true, you wouldn't have touched her." He reached out, then stopped himself. "I made a mistake." "No," I said quietly. "You made a decision." For a moment, he looked angry, like I'd taken something from him.
"Control, maybe."
The ability to explain his way out of consequences. "You're being cold," he said. "I'm being clear," I replied. He left without another word. Later that night, my roommate sat beside me on the bed. "You don't have to be strong all the time," she said. I nodded, staring at the wall. "I know. I just don't know how to be anything else right now." As the lights went out and the dorm settled into uneasy quiet, I realized something painful and important. Betrayal doesn't just take people away from you. It isolates you inside yourself, until you decide whether you'll disappear with the pain or stand alone long enough to rebuild. I heard he tried to come back, my roommate said carefully, watching my face. "Is that true?" "Yes," I replied. "And I sent him away." Saying it out loud felt different, solid.
Real.
Like the first brick in something new. By the end of the week, the campus had shifted. Not dramatically, not loudly, but subtly, in the way people stopped whispering when I walked by and started whispering when they did. Ryan's friends avoided me entirely. My sister stopped showing up to places she knew I'd be. And slowly, the story people had been telling themselves began to crack. It started with a rumor Ryan couldn't control. He hooked up with someone else too, a girl in my psychology class said under her breath as we waited for the lecture to start. Not just her sister. I didn't react. I didn't need to. Then another. He lied about his relationship to get sympathy. He told different versions of the story to different people. Patterns don't stay hidden forever. One afternoon, I saw my sister sitting alone outside the student center, shoulders hunched, staring at her phone like it might save her. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not powerful, not victorious, just exposed. She saw me and stood up quickly.
Wait, she said.
Please. I stopped, but I didn't move closer. He's been lying, she said, her voice rushed. To everyone. About you.
About me.
I didn't know he was like this. I crossed my arms. You knew he was willing to betray someone who trusted him. That's not the same, she whispered. It is, I replied. You just thought you'd be the exception. Her face crumpled. He flirts with other girls right in front of me. When I get upset, he says I'm insecure. He says I'm lucky he chose me at all. I felt a flicker of something recognition. He used to say that to me. I said, just with different words. She looked up sharply. Why didn't you warn me? I let the silence answer. Because warnings don't work when someone wants what you have. That night, Ryan's name popped up on my screen again. A new number this time. I messed everything up.
She's not you.
I see that now. I stared at the message, my hands steady. Don't contact me again, I typed. This ends here. I blocked the number. The next day, he didn't show up to class. Or the next. Word spread fast this time, not fueled by drama, but by distance. People notice when someone vanishes. My sister, on the other hand, had nowhere to go. She came to campus less. When she did, she walked fast, eyes down. The confidence she once wore like armor completely gone. At a study group that week, someone said, "You handled that whole thing really well." I paused. I didn't handle it. I said honestly. I survived it. And that was the truth. I wasn't healed. I wasn't over it. But I was no longer drowning in other people's choices. The shame had shifted. Off me, back where it belonged. That evening, alone in my room, I realized something that changed everything. They didn't fall apart because of karma. They fell apart because what they built was never real. And I was finally free from carrying a story that was never mine to begin with. You don't come around anymore, my mother said over the phone. Your sister is really struggling. I closed my eyes. Even now, the responsibility was trying to find its way back to me. I know, I replied. But that doesn't mean I can fix it. There was a pause. She misses you. I miss the sister I thought I had, I said quietly. Not the one who crossed a line and expected forgiveness to erase it. After we hung up, I sat on my bed staring at the wall. For weeks, I had been functioning, going to class, turning in assignments, answering questions with practiced calm. From the outside, I looked fine. Inside, I was still stitching myself together. I started spending more time alone on purpose. Long walks across campus with my headphones on. Study sessions in the quietest corner of the library. Coffee by myself, no phone, no distractions. At first, the silence was uncomfortable. Then it became grounding. I began to notice how much energy I had spent trying to keep other people comfortable. Smoothing things over. Explaining. Minimizing my own hurt so no one else had to sit with guilt. I stopped doing that. My sister sent me a long message one night. Apologies layered with explanations. Pain mixed with self-pity. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't think it would go this far. He manipulated me too. I read it once. Then I archived it. Not because she didn't deserve to be heard, but because I didn't deserve to be pulled back into the chaos. Ryan was officially gone from campus by mid-semester. Dropped classes. Transferred, maybe. No one seemed to know for sure.
No dramatic goodbye, no final confrontation.
Just absence. And that absence felt like a deep breath. In one of my seminars, the professor asked us to write about a turning point in our lives. Something that changed how we saw ourselves. I stared at the blank page for a long time. Then I wrote. I wrote about trust. About how betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. About how boundaries are not punishments, they are protections. When I finished, my hands were shaking, but I felt lighter. I started saying no without explaining. No to invitations I wasn't ready for. No to conversations that wanted closure I didn't know. No to being the bridge between broken people. One afternoon, I ran into my sister unexpectedly outside the bookstore. She looked tired, smaller, older. "I'm in therapy," she said quickly, like it might earn her something.
I'm glad, I replied.
She waited. That's it. That's it. She nodded slowly, understanding finally dawning. Healing wasn't a performance, and it wasn't something she could rush me into. As she walked away, I didn't feel victory. I felt relief. That night, I looked around my room, the same walls, same furniture, but everything felt different. Not because the pain was gone, but because it no longer owned me. I had stopped chasing explanations. I had stopped waiting for apologies to fix what was broken. I had chosen distance, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And for the first time since that night, that choice felt like real strength. "I wanted you to hear it from me," my sister said, standing awkwardly near the campus gate.
He's gone.
"He left me too." Her voice was flat, not dramatic, not pleading, just tired. I nodded slowly. I had imagined this moment once, how it might feel if she finally understood. I expected satisfaction, or relief. What I felt instead was calm. "I know," I said. She looked surprised.
How?
"Because he didn't change," I replied. "He just changed who he hurt." She swallowed. I really thought I was different. I didn't respond right away. "Some lessons can't be softened." "He said you were the problem," she continued. "That you pushed him away. That he only stayed with you because he felt sorry." I met her eyes. And now he says I was too jealous, too emotional, too demanding. Her voice cracked. "The same things." I exhaled slowly. Once a cheater, always a cheater. She flinched, but she didn't argue. For a moment, we stood there like strangers who shared a past but no longer shared a future. The sister I grew up with, the one who protected me, laughed with me, promised we'd always be on the same side, felt impossibly far away. "I ruined everything," she whispered. "You ruined us," I said gently. "And that's something we may never get back." Tears slipped down her face. "Can you forgive me?" I thought about all the nights I cried alone. The whispers. The isolation. The way my college experience had been permanently altered. "I forgive you," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean access." She nodded slowly, like she'd expected that answer. "I'm proud of you," she said quietly. "You're different. Stronger." I allowed myself a small smile. I had to be. We said goodbye, without a hug. As I walked back across campus, I realized how symbolic it felt. This place had seen my worst moment, my trust shattered, my safe spaces contaminated. But it had also seen my growth, my boundaries, my decision to stop shrinking. I passed the library steps where I'd sat weeks ago, convinced I'd never feel normal again. Students laughed nearby, unaware of how close pain and healing can exist in the same space. College didn't teach me this in a lecture. It taught me through betrayal. It taught me that love without respect is just convenience. That shared blood doesn't excuse broken boundaries. That walking away isn't weakness when staying would destroy you. My sister slept with my college boyfriend. And, in the end, he left her too. But I didn't lose everything. I lost two people who showed me exactly who they were.